AEW's NXT does its lowest rating of all time. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. And I call it AEW's NXT because, let's be honest, Tony Khan is the king of low ratings. Plus, he likes to purchase everything in wrestling. So who knows? Maybe he did buy NXT in the last 48 hours. But all jokes aside, guys, WWE NXT produces the lowest rating of all time ever since airing on the USA Network, with last Tuesday's edition drawing 528,000 views, so almost down to 500,000 for NXT. The show was down 4.86% from last week's 555,000 viewers from the post Stand and Deliver show as well. This week's NXT drew a 0.13 rating in the key demographics, 14 to 98, which I believe is a decent rating in the demographics, at least for NXT these days in 2023 and 2022. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this happened. There's a lot of speculation why. I've seen people blame Carmelo Hayes. I don't think it's Carmelo Hayes' fault. Now, this isn't me saying that Carmelo Hayes is a big draw, and I'm not saying that Carmelo Hayes isn't a big draw, but I don't think in 2023 you can simply blame the ratings on a champion. I don't think it's as simple as Carmelo Hayes won the belt. Braun Breaker doesn't have the belt anymore, so that means that the ratings lay on Carmelo Hayes' shoulders. No, in wrestling in 2023, the champ doesn't really carry the same sort of like power and authority that an impact as they did back in the day. So, I mean, there could be multiple reasons for this. However, I would have to put it down to, unfortunately, the NBA. So there was NBA playoffs taking place at the same time, and apparently they did the highest rating on TV that night. Now, I don't necessarily agree that you should just lie down and accept that you're going to get beat by other sporting competition, whether it be NBA, whether it be NFL, because let's be real, WWE do that, especially with Raw. They accept that on Monday nights they're going to take a hit. They accept the Monday Night Football's on, and they almost kind of like book the show around football, and they just like expect to lose a certain amount of viewers because of the football. But in my opinion, I mean, that mentality, that's cheap mentality. Like, you should be trying to beat everything you're up against. I don't care what competition it is. Look, anything is competition. If NFL football's not on, if Monday Night Football's not on, then there'll be something else on in its place. You've always got competition. Every other channel on television is competition, whether it be a sport, whether it be a movie, a documentary, the news channel, it doesn't matter. Every other thing on TV is competition, and you're always competing. It's crazy to think back in the day, in the 90s, WWE Raw was actually beating some Monday Night Football games. You know, that's insane. But now it's like the thought of that doesn't even cross your mind. So, I just don't really like this whole mentality where we almost accept that we're going to get low ratings or we're going to get beat by something. It's like, if the show is good enough, if the show is intriguing enough, and if people want to watch the show enough, then they will. It doesn't matter what's on the other channel. If your show's good enough, you'll watch it, and that is true. When Raw was at its best, I would watch Raw over anything. It didn't matter what else was on TV at that time. I wouldn't be choosing to watch it over Raw. So yeah, maybe WWE needs to do better. Maybe they need to like man up and take a different approach and just put on good shows and forget about what is on the other channel. But like I said, this rating is not a good rating, let's be honest, especially just after WrestleMania, just after Stand and Deliver. This is when you're supposed to get a lot of hype around wrestling, so for it to get like the lowest rating that it's had ever since being on USA Network, that is a little bit concerning. There's no doubt about it. Now, the show before Stand and Deliver did 620,000 viewers. This show did 528,000 viewers. So let's just say, I mean, it's almost 100,000, but let's just say it is. For argument's sake, let's say it's 100,000 views. That is a lot to lose in the space of 2 weeks. Now, the lower amount of views you have in general, obviously losing any amount is going to hurt you more. So for example, NXT losing 100,000 viewers is a bigger deal than SmackDown losing 100,000 viewers, because SmackDown, like on average, does about 2.2, 2.3. So losing 100 viewers from that, well, be it, it's not great, it's still bad, but it's not a disaster because you're losing a smaller percentage of your views. So, I mean, if SmackDown loses 100,000 views, then you're talking maybe like 4% of the viewership they're losing. If NXT loses 100,000 views, that's about 16% of the overall viewership they are losing. So again, that is an absolute crazy amount to lose. Now, next week it could go back up. I don't know, it could go back. I don't think it would go down. It would be really concerning if they did their lowest record viewership back to back. But who knows? I mean, we're getting further away from WrestleMania. There is no pay-per-view on the horizon. I believe Battleground isn't till like the end of May. Maybe people don't think NXT is that interesting at the moment. I mean, that could be a case. This week's NXT, though, you had a title match, you had a number one contenders match. I mean, I didn't personally watch it. There is a review on the channel. I didn't personally see it, though. But in my opinion, NXT's been on the decline for about 6 months now, and I genuinely believe the reason for this is I just think over the past 6 months, maybe 9 months, the influx of wrestlers to NXT have just reminded me of indie guys. It's like characterless indie guys, vanilla guys, smaller guys that just have the same flipping and flying and flopping style. Now, I know when NXT, original black and gold, changed to the NXT 2.0, people didn't like it. Personally, I did, though, because I think it was bringing in characters. I kind of like McMahon's version of NXT 2.0, but now I feel like it is kind of going slowly back to the old NXT, and you look at all these guys like Axiom and Dragon Lee and Wes Lee, JD McDonough and Ilya Dragunov. I mean, there's literally no characters there. There's no personalities there. It's just guys that wrestle. I mean, we need more Chase University. We need more Tony D. We need people like D-Jack. Big fucking men that actually look like wrestlers. Like Braun Breaker, for example. I mean, Braun Breaker definitely looks more of a wrestler than Carmelo Hayes. So maybe that is partly due to the reason. I'm not blaming Carmelo Hayes. I personally think Braun Breaker is more... he looks more of a champion than Carmelo Hayes does. I wouldn't have gave Carmelo Hayes the belt. I would have put it on Grayson Waller. But again, not blaming him. I'm just saying I think the direction of NXT is going downhill. I mean, I think they need to focus more on characters, more on bigger personalities. And in my opinion, they're not doing that. They're going down like the old, like indie style, in my opinion. That's what they've been doing over like the past 6 months. So we'll see what happens. I still think it's an enjoyable show at times, but yeah, this is not a good rating, guys. Almost down at 500,000, and it'll be interesting to see what they do next week. And will there be any panic button pushed here? I don't know, but we'll see what happens. 528,000 viewers, though. Not good for NXT, but still a lot better than AEW Rampage. Anything is better than AEW Rampage. That's it, guys, for Fog Wrestling. I'll catch you in the next one. Till then, though, peace.